You might be wondering why I'm wearing such a fancy collar. It's made to look like a ruff because we're going back to 1596. The Common Council of London has banned theater for being too disorderly. That sounds funny now because we think of theater as like a very fancy activity, but back in the day, it was like a very controversial, rowdy activity. Brawling, thievery, drinking, and other unruly things. Hi, I'm Marie Stewart. Let's imagine seeing Romeo and Juliet at the Globe Theatre. The Globe Theatre was built in 1599 by the Lord Chamberlain's men. A fun little tidbit I only just learned. Apparently, the Lord Chamberlain's men liberated the building materials for the Globe from the Blackfriars Theatre when their landlord would no longer allow them to make plays there, and they found some sort of loophole in their contract that gave them the rights to the building materials. So they dismantled the theatre, labeled all the parts, ferried them across the Thames, and built the Globe Theatre. You could call that reappropriating the materials. I find that great. I don't know why we don't have a movie about the heist of the Globe. Someone make that. So the Globe was in a very shady neighborhood. There were like brothels, and there was gambling, and there were animal fights. Because again, theater was not necessarily seen as a super highbrow activity. There would usually be a festival outside. So in order to bring more crowds and foot traffic, you had to advertise. And you didn't just need to advertise that there was a play. People needed to know what kind of play they were coming to. So there would be flags. Black flags for tragedy, white flags for comedy, red flags for histories, or as I like to call them, fan fiction, because it was recent history. Like, Henry VIII was like just happening, right? Like, it's a long time ago for us, not that long ago for them. There was no electricity in this time. Romeo and Juliet had to be staged for the daylight, or else people wouldn't be able to see the actors. It had to start at 2 p.m. The theater was shaped like an O, so if you ever hear people referring to this wooden O, they're literally talking about the Globe. It was open air, there was no roof. So the groundlings, or the peasants who stood on the floor, they were just in the weather. If it was raining, you're seeing a play in the rain. If it's snowing, you're seeing a play in the snow. Delightful. But you only had to pay a penny. And then wealthier, fancy people, they could sit in the seats, in the tiers, and they had a little shade. You had to bring snacks. It was a long play. Again, the 2 hours traffic of our stage, that's propaganda. And there were no bathrooms, just pots. So let's just think about what that smelled like. Unpleasant. So let's think about Romeo and Juliet in the middle of the day with no electricity. And there also really wasn't much of a set. Like, there was like a window and then their trap door. That was it. So if it's during the daytime, Shakespeare had to use language to tell us what time of day it was. For example, wilt thou be gone? It is not yet near day. So that way the audience knows, okay, I know what time it is. Or for example, night's candles are burnt out. So now we know it's nighttime, even though in real life, it's 3 p.m. or whatever. That's a great example of Shakespeare using language to make up for the fact that we don't have a lighting designer because it's the 1500s, we don't have electricity. There also really aren't that many stage directions or set, so Shakespeare would use things like heaven, hell, earth to give us an indication of what part of the stage we are indicating. Or verbiage like being o'er my head as a winged messenger of heaven to give us an idea of what Romeo is talking about. That's in the balcony scene, talking about being o'er my head, right? We know he's looking up in the sky. That way, if the actor gets confused, they know what to look at, and we, the audience, know what they're talking about. Shakespeare is really good about that, making something out of nothing. Made a Globe Theatre, allegedly out of another theater, and made stage directions, lights, set out of words. Now you try it. Imagine writing a scene at a haunted house, but you don't have electricity or a set. What would a character say to describe the setting so the audience can picture it? Click the link below for our experience guide for more discussion questions and activities. And we'll see you next week for more willpower. Bye.